Hello there, and welcome Midnight Mind. I'm so glad you found your way here. Maybe you've been carrying heavy feelings today, or maybe you're the kind of person who likes falling asleep to gentle truths about the human heart rather than counting sheep. Either way, tonight's journey is for you. You've got nothing to do but rest. Let your mind soften, your breathing slow, and your body grow light, as if every tension is gently dissolving. Because tonight, we aren't simply thinking about emotions. We're drifting through the quiet landscape of feelings, understanding, and the beautiful complexity of what it means to feel. Beneath the surface of every emotion lies something remarkable. Think of a time when you laughed so hard your stomach hurt, or when tears came without warning. Those moments weren't random. They were ancient signals, older than words, older than cities, older even than the first humans who painted on cave walls. Your emotions are messengers carrying wisdom that has kept our species alive for millions of years. Tonight, we'll travel gently through the landscape of feelings. We'll visit joy in its quiet moments, and sadness in its gentle depths. We'll understand why fear arrives uninvited, and how love rewires the very chemistry of your brain. We'll discover why tears contain natural painkillers, and why laughter is contagious even when nothing seems funny. And just before we begin, if these calm, curious explorations help you unwind or give you a quiet way to end your day, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, let's begin. Emotions existed before language. Long before humans could speak, we could feel. Fear, joy, anger, and sadness guided our ancestors through a world without words. These emotions were survival tools, instant messages from the body telling us to run, to bond, to fight, or to rest. Even now, emotions arrive faster than thoughts, rising from ancient parts of the brain that predate language by millions of years. When you feel something deeply, you're experiencing a wisdom older than civilization itself, a silent language that every human being shares. Crying is one of the most human things you can do. Humans are the only animals who cry emotional tears. When we weep from sadness, joy, or overwhelming feeling, we release not just water, but stress, hormones, and toxins from the body. Emotional tears have a different chemical composition than tears from cutting onions or from wind in your eyes. They contain natural painkillers, helping to soothe emotional distress. Crying is not weakness. It is the body's ancient way of healing, of releasing what cannot be held, of letting the heart breathe again. Your heart and brain communicate constantly. The heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. This two-way conversation shapes how you feel every moment. When you're anxious, your heart rhythm becomes erratic, and your brain interprets this as danger. When you're calm, your heart beats in smooth, coherent patterns, and your brain registers safety. This is why slow, deep breathing calms you down. It steadies the heart's rhythm, which in turn soothes the mind. Your heart is not just a pump, it is an emotional organ, speaking quietly to your thoughts. Emotions are contagious. When you spend time with someone, your nervous systems begin to sync. Heart rates align, breathing patterns mirror each other, and emotions flow between you like an invisible current. This is why being around calm people helps you feel calm, and why someone else's anxiety can make you tense. We are wired for emotional resonance, designed to feel what others feel. It's not weakness or oversensitivity. It's empathy, an ancient bonding mechanism that kept our ancestors connected and safe. Happiness is not the absence of sadness. For a long time, people believed that happiness meant never feeling sad, anxious, or afraid. But research shows that the happiest people are not those who avoid negative emotions. They are those who accept all emotions as natural temporary visitors. Sadness reminds us what matters. Fear keeps us safe. Anger shows us our boundaries. When we stop fighting our feelings and simply let them exist, they pass more quickly, like clouds drifting across a wide, open sky. Your body remembers emotions even when your mind forgets. Sometimes you feel anxious or sad without knowing why. This is because emotional memory is stored not just in the brain, but in the body itself. Muscles hold tension from old stress. The nervous system remembers past danger. This is called somatic memory, and it explains why certain places, sounds, or smells can trigger feelings that seem to come from nowhere. Your body is keeping score, holding stories written in sensation rather than words. Being gentle with yourself means honoring these quiet memories. Laughter is a social bonding tool. We laugh 30 times more when we're with others than when we're alone. Laughter is not just about humor. It's a signal that says, "I'm safe with you. We're connected." It releases endorphins, natural chemicals that reduce pain and create feelings of pleasure. Even fake laughter can trigger real emotional benefits, tricking the body into relaxation. Laughter is a gift we give each other, a way of saying without words that everything, for this moment, is okay. Fear is your body trying to protect you. When you feel afraid, your body is not malfunctioning. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, preparing you to face danger or escape it. Your heart races to pump blood to your muscles. Your breathing quickens to take in more oxygen. Your senses sharpen. This is the fight or flight response, an ancient survival mechanism. Sometimes it activates when there is no real danger, and that can feel overwhelming. But understanding that fear is protection, not punishment, can help you meet it with compassion instead of shame. Emotions last about 90 seconds if you let them. Neuroscientist Jill Bolte-Taylor discovered that the physiological lifespan of an emotion, the chemical surge that creates the feeling, lasts only about 90 seconds. After that, any remaining emotional response is because we're re-triggering it with our thoughts. If you can sit with a feeling without analyzing, resisting, or feeding it with stories, it will crest and fade like a wave. Emotions are temporary. They rise, they peak, and they pass. You don't have to fix them. You only have to let them move through you. Gratitude rewires your brain. When you regularly practice gratitude, focusing on what you appreciate rather than what you lack, your brain begins to change. The neural pathways associated with positive emotions grow stronger, while those linked to stress and negativity weaken. Over time, gratitude becomes easier, more automatic. It's not about denying difficulty or pretending everything is perfect. It's about training your mind to notice light alongside shadow, to find small anchors of goodness even in hard times. Sadness slows you down for a reason. When you feel sad, your body and mind naturally slow down. Energy drops. Motivation fades. This is not laziness or failure. Sadness is the emotional equivalent of a stop sign, asking you to pause, reflect, and process what has happened. It creates space for healing, for letting go, for understanding what you've lost or what needs to change. In a world that demands constant productivity, sadness whispers, "Rest, feel." You are allowed to stop moving for a while. You can feel multiple emotions at once. Emotions are not simple, singular states. You can feel grateful and sad at the same time. You can be angry and also love someone deeply. You can feel joy mixed with grief, hope tangled with fear. This complexity is not confusion. It is the full spectrum of being human. Emotions layer and blend like colors, creating shades that don't have names but are real and valid nonetheless. You don't have to choose one feeling. You can hold them all gently, letting them coexist. Love changes your brain chemistry. When you fall in love, your brain floods with dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, chemicals that create feelings of euphoria, bonding, and contentment. Brain scans of people in love show activity in the same regions that light up with addiction, which is why love can feel so consuming. But love also activates areas linked to empathy, caregiving, and long-term attachment. Over time, passionate love often evolves into companionate love, a quieter, deeper bond that is less about intensity and more about steady, enduring connection. Anger shows you what matters to you. Anger gets a bad reputation, but it is not inherently destructive. Anger is information. It tells you when a boundary has been crossed, when something feels unfair, or when a value you hold has been violated. The key is not to suppress anger, but to understand it and express it in ways that don't harm yourself or others. Healthy anger can fuel change, protect what's important, and help you stand up for yourself. It is energy that, when channeled wisely, can be a force for good. Your emotions are not facts. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's true. You can feel unloved and still be deeply loved. You can feel like a failure and still be doing your best. Emotions are real, but they are not always accurate reflections of reality. They are shaped by past experiences, current stress levels, sleep, nutrition, and countless other factors. Learning to observe your emotions without immediately believing them creates space for perspective, for questioning, for choosing how you respond. Nostalgia is bittersweet by design. When you feel nostalgic, remembering the past with a mix of warmth and longing, your brain is doing something remarkable. Nostalgia helps you feel connected to your own history, to the people and places that shaped you. It can comfort you in times of stress, reminding you that you've felt joy before and will again. But it also carries a gentle sadness, an acknowledgement that time moves forward and some moments can never be relived. This bittersweet quality is not a flaw. It is the heart's way of honoring what was, while accepting what is. Empathy can be learned and strengthened. Some people seem naturally empathetic, but empathy is not a fixed trait. It is a skill that can be developed through practice. When you actively listen, imagine another person's perspective, or simply sit with someone in their pain without trying to fix it, you are exercising empathy. Mirror neurons in your brain fire both when you experience an emotion and when you witness someone else experiencing it. This neural mirroring is the biological foundation of compassion, and the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Loneliness is a signal, not a flaw. Feeling lonely doesn't mean something is wrong with you. Loneliness is an emotional signal, like hunger or thirst, telling you that you need connection. Humans are social creatures, wired for belonging. In our evolutionary past, isolation was dangerous, so the body developed loneliness as a warning system. In modern life, you can be surrounded by people and still feel lonely if those connections lack depth or authenticity. Loneliness is not a failure. It is your heart asking for meaningful presence, for someone to see you and be seen in return. Jealousy points to what you desire. Jealousy is uncomfortable, but it carries useful information. When you feel jealous, you're noticing something someone else has that you want for yourself. Instead of judging the feeling, you can ask, what is this showing me about my own desires? Jealousy can reveal unmet needs, hidden dreams, or areas where you feel insecure. It's not a pleasant emotion, but it can be a guide, pointing you toward what you truly value and what you might want to pursue or heal within yourself. Joy is found in small moments. Happiness research shows that intense, peak experiences contribute less to overall well-being than we imagine. What matters more are small, consistent moments of contentment. A warm cup of tea, sunlight on your face, a kind word from a stranger. These tiny moments, when noticed and savored, accumulate into a life that feels good. You don't need grand achievements or perfect circumstances to feel joy. You only need to pay attention to the quiet goodness already present in your day. Shame thrives in silence. Shame is the feeling that you are bad, not just that you did something bad. It is one of the most painful emotions, and it grows stronger when hidden. But research by Brené Brown shows that shame cannot survive being spoken aloud with empathy. When you share your shame with someone who responds with understanding rather than judgment, its power diminishes. You realize you are not alone, not uniquely broken. Shame loses its grip when met with connection and compassion. Forgiveness is for you, not them. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harm or pretending something didn't hurt. It means releasing the grip that resentment has on your heart. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, a decision to stop carrying the weight of old wounds. It doesn't happen all at once, and it doesn't require reconciliation. It is a quiet, internal shift, a choice to let go so you can move forward lighter. Emotions are energy in motion. The word emotion comes from the Latin emotere, meaning to move out or to move through. Emotions are not meant to be stored or suppressed. They are designed to flow through you, to be felt and released. When emotions get stuck, trapped by avoidance or judgment, they manifest as tension, illness, or chronic stress. Allowing yourself to feel, to cry, to laugh, to rage in safe ways is how you keep the energy moving, how you stay fluid and alive. Hope is a practice, not a feeling. Hope is often misunderstood as passive optimism, a wish that things will magically improve. But true hope is active. It is the belief that your actions matter, that you have some agency in shaping your future. Hope is nurtured through small steps, through setting intentions, through showing up even when outcomes are uncertain. It is not naive. It is courageous, a quiet refusal to let despair have the final word. Your younger self still lives inside you. The child you once were, with all their fears, joys, and wounds, is still part of you. Sometimes emotions that feel disproportionate in the present are echoes of past pain. When you feel small, scared, or unworthy, it may be a younger version of yourself asking to be seen and comforted. Healing often involves turning inward with kindness, offering yourself the reassurance and safety you needed then and still need now. Anxiety is not the enemy. Anxiety feels terrible, but it is not trying to harm you. It is your nervous system's way of preparing for perceived threat. The problem is that modern life triggers this ancient alarm system with things that aren't life-threatening, like emails, deadlines, or social situations. Anxiety becomes a problem not because it exists, but because it activates too often or too intensely. Learning to calm your nervous system through breath, movement, or grounding techniques helps you work with anxiety rather than against it. Boredom is a doorway to creativity. In a world of constant stimulation, boredom feels intolerable. But boredom is not emptiness. It is space, an invitation for your mind to wander, to dream, to make unexpected connections. Some of the most creative ideas emerge not from focused effort, but from letting the mind drift without agenda. When you resist the urge to immediately fill boredom with distraction, you give yourself the gift of mental freedom, the chance to discover what arises in the quiet. Compassion starts with yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend, is not selfish. It is essential. When you are harsh and critical with yourself, you deplete your emotional reserves, making it harder to show up for others. But when you acknowledge your struggles, forgive your mistakes, and tend to your own needs, you create a foundation of strength from which genuine care for others can flow. Grief is love with nowhere to go. When you lose someone or something you love, the love doesn't disappear. It remains. But now, it has no outlet, no recipient. This is grief. Love transformed into longing. Grief is not something to get over. It is something to carry, to integrate, to let reshape you. Over time, the sharp edges soften, but the love remains, woven into who you are. Grief is the price we pay for connection, and it is also a testament to how deeply we can care. You are allowed to change your mind. Emotions evolve. What you felt yesterday may not be what you feel today, and that's okay. You are not obligated to remain consistent with past versions of yourself. Growth means allowing your feelings, beliefs, and desires to shift as you learn and experience more of life. Changing your mind is not weakness or inconsistency. It is evidence that you are alive, responsive, and willing to adapt. Contentment is quieter than happiness. Happiness is often loud, a burst of joy, excitement, or pleasure. Contentment is softer, a gentle sense of being enough, having enough, doing enough. It is the absence of striving, the quiet satisfaction of simply being present. Contentment doesn't make for exciting stories, but it is the emotional state most closely linked to long-term well-being. It is the feeling of a deep breath, of coming home to yourself. Emotions connect you to others. Every feeling you experience is a thread linking you to the rest of humanity. Someone, somewhere, has felt exactly what you're feeling now. This shared emotional landscape is what makes stories resonate. Music move us, and art speak across time and culture. Your emotions are not isolating. They are universal, a reminder that you are part of something larger, that your inner world is both unique and deeply, beautifully common. Vulnerability is not weakness. This statement contradicts almost everything our culture teaches us. From childhood, we learn to hide our struggles, to mask our pain, to present only our strongest, most capable selves to the world. We learn that showing weakness invites attack, that admitting uncertainty invites dismissal, that revealing our tender places invites hurt. We learn to build walls, to wear masks, to keep our true selves hidden behind layers of protection. But this equation, this belief that vulnerability equals weakness, is fundamentally wrong. It's a lie that keeps us isolated, disconnected, and alone even when surrounded by people. It's a misunderstanding that prevents the very connections we most desperately need. Because true connection, genuine intimacy, real love, all of these require vulnerability. They cannot exist without it. Think about the people you feel most connected to in your life. The relationships that feel most meaningful, most real, most sustaining. These are almost certainly relationships where vulnerability exists, where you've allowed yourself to be seen, where you've shared your struggles and fears and imperfections, where you've been met with acceptance rather than judgment. These vulnerable moments didn't weaken the relationship, they strengthened it. They created the depth and intimacy that makes the connection valuable. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's actually the opposite. It takes tremendous courage to be vulnerable. It takes strength to remove your armor, to lower your defenses, to show someone who you really are beneath the presentation you've carefully constructed. Weakness would be staying hidden, staying protected, never risking connection because you're too afraid of rejection. Strength is risking that rejection because you believe connection is worth the risk. To be vulnerable is to allow yourself to be seen. Think about what this means. To be seen. Not to present a carefully curated version of yourself, not to show only the parts you think are acceptable, not to perform an identity you believe others will approve of. To be seen means allowing someone to witness the real you, the whole you, the you that exists when no one is watching. This real you includes your strengths, yes, but also your struggles. It includes your successes, but also your failures. It includes your confidence, but also your doubts. It includes your joy, but also your pain. It includes everything you usually hide, everything you usually edit out, everything you usually keep private because you fear it will make others think less of you. Allowing yourself to be seen means showing someone your messy house instead of frantically cleaning before they arrive. It means admitting you don't have all the answers instead of pretending you do. It means saying, "I'm struggling," instead of "I'm fine" when you're not fine. It means letting someone see you cry, see you fail, see you at your worst, and trusting that they won't use these moments against you. This is terrifying. Every instinct screams at you to hide, to protect, to maintain the facade. Because being seen means being known. And being known means someone has information about you, information they could use to hurt you, information that reveals your weaknesses and insecurities and fears. Being seen feels dangerous because it is dangerous. It removes your ability to control how others perceive you. It puts your true self out there, exposed and unprotected, fully and honestly. Vulnerability is not selective disclosure. It's not showing someone the struggles you're comfortable sharing, while hiding the ones that feel too shameful. It's not being honest about some things while lying about others. Full vulnerability means showing up as your complete self, with all your contradictions and complexities and imperfections. Fully means not editing yourself to fit what you think others want to see. It means not hiding the parts of yourself you judge as unacceptable. It means not pretending to be more together, more confident, more capable than you actually feel. It means showing the whole picture, Not just the highlights reel you post on social media. Honestly means telling the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable. It means admitting, I don't know, when you don't know. It means saying, I'm scared, when you're scared. It means confessing, I made a mistake, when you made a mistake. It means acknowledging, I need help, when you need help. Honesty in vulnerability means no longer maintaining the exhausting pretense that you have everything figured out, that you're always okay, that you don't need anyone. This level of honesty is rare. Most of us spend most of our time presenting a version of ourselves that's slightly better, slightly more together, slightly more acceptable than we actually feel. We curate our stories, we manage our image, we control the narrative, and in doing so, we prevent anyone from truly knowing us. We prevent real connection, because real connection requires honesty, requires showing up as we actually are, not as we wish we were, without armor or pretense. Armor is the protection we wear to keep ourselves safe from emotional harm. It's the walls we build around our hearts. It's the defenses we employ to prevent anyone from getting too close. It's the masks we wear to hide our true feelings. This armor takes many forms. Sometimes armor looks like perfectionism. If you never make mistakes, never fail, never show weakness, then no one can criticize you. If you maintain impossibly high standards and somehow manage to meet them, you're safe from judgment. Except you're not safe. You're exhausted, and you're alone, because no one can connect with perfection. Perfection is a wall that keeps people out. Sometimes armor looks like cynicism. If you don't care about anything, if you're above it all, if you mock sincerity and dismiss earnestness, then you can't be hurt. If you never hope, you can never be disappointed. If you never love, you can never be heartbroken. Except, this armor doesn't protect you from pain. It just ensures you never experience joy either. Cynicism is a wall that keeps out both hurt and happiness. Sometimes armor looks like busyness. If you're always working, always productive, always moving, you never have to sit with uncomfortable feelings. You never have to face what you're avoiding. You never have to be vulnerable because you never have time for the conversations that require vulnerability. Except, this armor doesn't protect you. It just delays the inevitable moment when you'll have to stop and face yourself. Sometimes armor looks like people-pleasing. If you're always nice, always agreeable, always accommodating, then people will like you and you'll be safe. Except you're not safe. You're invisible. People like the version of you that you're presenting, but they don't know the real you. And the real you is lonely, exhausted from the constant performance, resentful of the constant self-sacrifice. Pretense is the act we put on, the role we play, the identity we construct to hide our true selves. It's the person we pretend to be, because we believe our real self is not acceptable. Pretense is the confident person you perform at work when you actually feel uncertain. It's the happy person you perform at social gatherings when you're actually struggling. It's the strong person you perform with your family when you actually feel fragile. Living with pretense is exhausting. It requires constant vigilance, constant monitoring of what you say and how you act, constant management of the impression you're making. You can never fully relax because you're always performing. You can never be truly known because you're always hiding. And the exhaustion of pretense eventually becomes unbearable. Vulnerability means removing this armor and dropping this pretense. It means showing up as you actually are, not as you think you should be. It means letting people see your uncertainty, your struggle, your imperfection. It means risking that they'll reject the real you. And this risk is real. This fear is valid. Because sometimes, when you're vulnerable, people do reject you. Sometimes they do judge you. Sometimes they do use your vulnerability against you. It feels risky because it is. There's no way around this truth. Vulnerability is risky. When you open yourself to someone, when you show them your tender places, when you admit your fears and insecurities and struggles, you are taking a genuine risk. You are giving them information and access that they could use to hurt you. You are putting yourself in a position where rejection would be deeply painful because you've revealed your true self, not just a facade. This risk is not imaginary. It's not something you're making up in your anxious mind. It's real. Some people will respond to your vulnerability with judgment. Some will use your honesty against you. Some will see your openness as weakness and attempt to exploit it. Some will reject you precisely because you showed them who you really are. This happens. Not always. Not even most of the time if you choose your confidants wisely. But it happens enough that the fear is rational. The risk of vulnerability is especially high if you've been hurt before. If you've opened yourself to someone and they betrayed that trust. If you've been vulnerable and had that vulnerability used as a weapon against you. If you've shown your true self and been rejected, then of course vulnerability feels terrifying now. Your past experience has taught you that vulnerability leads to pain. Your nervous system has learned to associate openness with danger. The walls you've built are not irrational. They're protective responses to real harm. But here's the complexity. The risk of vulnerability is real, and yet avoiding vulnerability carries its own risks. When you never allow yourself to be vulnerable, when you keep your walls up permanently, when you never let anyone truly see you, you protect yourself from rejection, but you also prevent connection. You stay safe, but you stay alone. You avoid the pain of being hurt, but you also miss out on the joy of being truly known and loved. The question is not whether vulnerability is risky. It is. The question is whether the potential rewards of vulnerability, connection, intimacy, love, are worth the risks. And this is a question only you can answer for yourself. There's no universal right answer. For some people, in some situations, the risk is too high. The potential for harm outweighs the potential for connection, and choosing to protect yourself in those situations is valid and wise. But for many of us, the walls we've built are higher and thicker than they need to be. We're protecting ourselves not just from people who might hurt us, but from everyone, including people who would cherish our vulnerability, who would meet our honesty with acceptance, who would love us more deeply for showing them our true selves. We're so afraid of the risk that we're missing out on the reward. Vulnerability opens you to the possibility of rejection. This is perhaps the most terrifying aspect of vulnerability. When you show someone who you really are, you give them the power to reject not just a version of you, not just a role you're playing, but your actual self. This rejection cuts deep because it's personal in a way that other rejections are not. If you're rejected while wearing a mask, while performing a role, while presenting a false self, you can tell yourself that they didn't really reject you. They rejected the persona you were presenting. The real you is still safe, still hidden, still protected. But when you're rejected after being vulnerable, after showing your true self, there's no such comfort. They saw the real you and decided it wasn't enough. That hurts in a profound way. This fear of rejection is primal. As humans, we're wired for connection. For our ancestors, being rejected by the group meant death. Isolation was not survivable. So we evolved to be exquisitely sensitive to rejection, to fear it intensely, to do whatever necessary to avoid it. This ancient fear still lives in us. When we risk vulnerability, when we risk rejection, we're working against millions of years of evolutionary programming that screams at us to hide, to conform, to stay safe within the group. Understanding this doesn't make the fear go away. But it helps you recognize that the intensity of your fear around vulnerability is not a personal failing. It's a normal human response to a real threat. The fear is trying to protect you. It's just that in modern life, social rejection rarely means death. It means pain. Yes, and that pain is real and significant. But it's survivable. You can be rejected and continue to exist, to build other connections, to find people who do accept your vulnerable self. Judgment. Along with rejection, vulnerability opens you to judgment. When you reveal your struggles, your failures, your imperfections, you give people information they can use to judge you. And many people will judge. Our culture is deeply judgmental. We're constantly evaluating each other, comparing, ranking, deciding who's acceptable and who's not. When you admit you're struggling with depression, some people will judge you as weak. When you confess you made a mistake, some people will judge you as incompetent. When you reveal your fears, some people will judge you as cowardly. When you show your imperfections, some people will judge you as less than. This judgment can be overt, expressed directly in criticism or dismissal, or it can be subtle, expressed in a slight pulling away, a change in how they treat you, a loss of respect you can feel but can't quite name. This judgment hurts. It confirms your worst fears about yourself. It reinforces the voice in your head that says you're not good enough, that your struggles are shameful, that you should keep hiding. It makes you want to retreat back behind your walls, to put your armor back on, to never be vulnerable again because look what happened when you were. But here's what's important to understand about judgment. It says more about the person judging than the person being judged. People who respond to vulnerability with harsh judgment are usually people who cannot tolerate their own vulnerability, who have such rigid expectations for themselves that they extend those expectations to everyone else. Their judgment is a reflection of their own fear, their own shame, their own inability to accept imperfection in themselves. This doesn't make the judgment hurt less, but it helps you recognize that the judgment is not an objective truth about your worth. It's one person's opinion, shaped by their own issues and limitations. And while judgment is painful, it's also informative. When someone responds to your vulnerability with judgment, they're showing you who they are. They're showing you that they're not a safe person for your vulnerable self. This is painful information, but it's also useful. It helps you know where to direct your vulnerability and where to maintain boundaries. Or pain. Vulnerability opens you to pain in multiple ways. There's the pain of rejection and judgment we've already discussed. But there's also the pain that comes simply from being seen. When you've spent years hiding parts of yourself, when you've kept certain truths locked away, when you've maintained walls around your heart, the act of opening up can itself be painful. It's painful to acknowledge truths you've been avoiding. It's painful to speak aloud the fears you've been keeping silent. It's painful to let someone see the parts of yourself you judge as unacceptable. Even when the person responds with acceptance and compassion, the vulnerability itself can hurt because you're confronting things you've been trying not to confront. There's also the pain of being misunderstood. Sometimes you're vulnerable. You share something true and important about yourself, and the other person doesn't get it. They don't understand what you're trying to communicate. They respond in a way that misses the point or minimizes your experience. This isn't necessarily judgment or rejection. They're trying to be supportive, but their response shows they don't really understand, and that lack of understanding hurts. And there's the pain of realizing that even when you're fully vulnerable, even when you're completely honest, even when you show someone your whole self, they still might not be able to give you what you need. Vulnerability doesn't guarantee that your needs will be met. It doesn't ensure that the other person has the capacity to show up for you in the way you're hoping. Sometimes you're vulnerable, and the other person is simply not equipped, emotionally or practically, to respond in the way you need. This is no one's fault, but it still hurts. All of these forms of pain are real possibilities when you choose vulnerability. The pain is not guaranteed, but the risk of pain is always present. And this is why vulnerability requires such courage. You're choosing to do something that might hurt, that probably will hurt at some point, because you believe the potential for connection is worth the potential for pain. But it also opens you to connection. Here's the other side of vulnerability, the reason it's worth the risk. While vulnerability opens you to rejection, judgment, and pain, it also, and equally, opens you to connection. Real connection. Deep connection. The kind of connection that makes life feel meaningful and makes you feel less alone in the world. Connection requires vulnerability. You cannot connect with someone while wearing a mask. You cannot build intimacy while maintaining walls. You cannot be truly known while hiding your real self. Connection happens when two people allow themselves to be seen, when they share their true experiences, when they reveal their authentic selves to each other. Think about the moments in your life when you've felt most connected to another person. These were almost certainly moments of vulnerability. Maybe you were going through something difficult and you admitted to someone how much you were struggling, and instead of judging you, they said, "Me too," or "I understand," or "I'm here." Maybe you took a risk and told someone how you really felt about them, and they reciprocated. Maybe you shared something you were ashamed of, and the other person responded with acceptance and compassion. These vulnerable moments create connection because they break through the superficial interactions that characterize most of our relationships. They move past small talk and pleasantries into real talk about real things. They create a sense of being truly seen and understood. They build trust because you've taken a risk and the other person has proven themselves trustworthy. They create intimacy because you've let someone into your inner world and they've treated that access with care. Connection is what humans need most. We are social creatures. We're wired for belonging. Isolation is one of the most painful experiences a human can endure, and yet, you can be surrounded by people and still feel isolated if none of those people truly know you. You can have 100 acquaintances and still feel lonely if you're never vulnerable with any of them. True connection, the kind that alleviates loneliness, requires vulnerability. Intimacy. Intimacy is not just physical closeness, though it can include that. Intimacy is emotional closeness. It's the feeling of being known and understood. It's the experience of sharing your inner world with another person and having them share theirs with you. It's the sense that you don't have to pretend, that you can be yourself, that you're accepted as you are. Intimacy develops through repeated experiences of vulnerability and acceptance. You share something vulnerable, and the other person responds with care rather than judgment. This creates a small amount of trust. You share something else, something a bit more vulnerable, and again they respond with acceptance. The trust grows. Over time, through many such exchanges, intimacy develops. You come to feel safe with this person. You come to believe that they won't use your vulnerability against you, that they value your authentic self, that they want to know you deeply. This intimacy is profoundly nourishing. It's the antidote to the loneliness that comes from always hiding, always performing, always maintaining your armor. When you have intimate relationships where you can be fully yourself, you feel less alone in the world. You feel understood. You feel like you belong. You feel like your true self is acceptable, even lovable. But intimacy is impossible without vulnerability. You cannot develop intimacy while keeping your walls up. You cannot create the deep knowing that characterizes intimate relationships if you're only showing people your curated self. Intimacy requires that you let someone in, that you show them who you really are, that you risk being seen. The reward for this risk is a depth of connection that makes the risk worthwhile. And love, real love, requires vulnerability. Not the initial attraction or infatuation, which can happen while you're still wearing your mask, while you're still presenting your best self. But deep, lasting, mature love requires that you let yourself be known. It requires that you show your partner your struggles and fears and insecurities. It requires that you admit when you're wrong, when you're hurt, when you need help. Many relationships fail not because the love isn't there, but because one or both people are unable or unwilling to be vulnerable. They keep their walls up. They hide their true feelings. They pretend to be fine when they're not fine. They avoid difficult conversations. They maintain their armor even with the person who loves them. And slowly, the relationship becomes superficial. The connection weakens. The intimacy fades. Because love cannot survive without vulnerability. When you're vulnerable in a loving relationship, when you show your partner your whole self, including the parts you usually hide, you give them the opportunity to love the real you, not just the version of you that you think is acceptable. This is terrifying because what if they don't love the real you? What if the real you is too much or not enough? But it's also the only way to feel truly loved. If you're loved while wearing a mask, you never quite believe the love is real. You think, they love the person I'm pretending to be. If they knew the real me, they wouldn't love me. This doubt undermines the relationship. It prevents you from fully receiving the love being offered. But when you're vulnerable, when you show your true self and you're still loved, you can believe the love. You can trust it. You can let it in. Because they know you, really know you, and they love you anyway. This is the gift of vulnerability in love. It allows you to be truly seen and truly loved. It creates a relationship where you don't have to perform, where you can rest, where you can be yourself. And this kind of love, love that knows and accepts your whole self, is worth every risk that vulnerability entails. Strength is not about never feeling afraid or uncertain. Our culture has a distorted view of strength. We think strength means never showing weakness, never admitting fear, never appearing uncertain. We think strong people are always confident, always capable, always in control. We think strength means not needing anyone, not being affected by anything, not having emotions that might make us seem weak. This view of strength is not only wrong, it's harmful. It creates an impossible standard that no one can meet. Everyone feels afraid sometimes. Everyone feels uncertain. Everyone struggles. Pretending otherwise doesn't make you strong. It makes you dishonest. It makes you isolated. It makes you human, while pretending to be invulnerable. Real strength is not the absence of fear or uncertainty. Real strength is feeling those things and continuing anyway. It's acknowledging your fear and acting despite it. It's admitting your uncertainty and making decisions anyway. It's recognizing your limitations and asking for help anyway. This is much harder, much braver, much stronger than pretending you never feel afraid or uncertain. Think about the people you admire most, the people you consider truly strong. Chances are, they're not people who claim to never struggle, who present themselves as invulnerable, who pretend to have it all together. They're people who acknowledge their struggles, who admit their fears, who show their humanity. They're people who've been through difficult things and come out the other side. They're people who've failed and gotten back up. They're people who've been vulnerable and survived it. This is real strength, not invulnerability, but resilience, not the absence of fear, but courage, not pretending to be perfect, but being authentic, not hiding your struggles, but facing them, not avoiding vulnerability, but embracing it. This kind of strength is available to everyone because it's based not on never struggling, but on how you respond to struggle. Strength is feeling those things, feeling afraid, feeling uncertain, feeling inadequate, feeling overwhelmed, feeling all the things that our culture tells us we shouldn't feel, that we should hide, that make us weak. Strength is allowing yourself to feel these things, to acknowledge them, to not pretend they don't exist. There's strength in admitting, "I'm scared," instead of pretending you're not. There's strength in saying, "I don't know," instead of faking certainty. There's strength in acknowledging, "I'm struggling," instead of maintaining the facade that everything's fine. This honesty takes courage. It goes against everything you've been taught about how to appear strong. But this honesty is the foundation of real strength because it's based in reality. You can't effectively deal with fear you won't acknowledge. You can't make good decisions if you pretend to have certainty you don't possess. You can't get the help you need if you insist you're not struggling. Acknowledging your true emotional state, even when that state includes fear or uncertainty, is the first step toward actually dealing with whatever you're facing. And there's strength in feeling your feelings, rather than suppressing them. Suppression takes enormous energy, constantly monitoring what you feel, pushing down uncomfortable emotions, maintaining a calm exterior while you're churning inside. This is exhausting. It's also ineffective, because suppressed emotions don't disappear. They leak out in other ways. They affect your body. They influence your behavior in ways you don't recognize. Allowing yourself to feel, really feel, whatever you're feeling is actually the stronger choice. It takes courage to sit with difficult emotions rather than distracting from them or numbing them. It takes strength to let yourself cry when you're sad, to acknowledge your anger when you're angry, to feel your fear when you're afraid. This emotional honesty, this willingness to feel, is a form of strength that our culture doesn't recognize but desperately needs. And choosing to show up anyway, this is where strength truly lies. Not in never feeling afraid, but in feeling afraid and showing up anyway. Not in never feeling uncertain, but in feeling uncertain and making decisions anyway. Not in never struggling, but in struggling and continuing anyway. Showing up anyway means doing the thing, even though it scares you. It means having the difficult conversation, even though you're afraid of how it will go. It means trying something new, even though you might fail. It means putting yourself out there even though you might be rejected. It means being vulnerable, even though you might get hurt. This is courage, not the absence of fear, but action in the presence of fear. Courage is not feeling brave. Courage is feeling terrified and doing it anyway because it matters, because it's important, because the alternative, staying hidden and safe and small, is ultimately more painful than the risk of being seen. Showing up anyway means continuing even when you feel like giving up. It means getting up after you fall. It means trying again after you fail. It means staying in the relationship even when it's hard. It means being honest even when lying would be easier. It means being yourself even when conforming would be safer. This kind of strength, this showing up anyway, is available to everyone. You don't have to be naturally confident or naturally brave. You just have to be willing to feel your fear and act anyway. You just have to be willing to acknowledge your uncertainty and decide anyway. You just have to be willing to admit your struggles and continue anyway. To let yourself be known. This is the ultimate act of vulnerability and the ultimate expression of strength. To let yourself be known means allowing someone to see past your defenses, past your performance, past your carefully constructed image, to the real person underneath. It means sharing not just your successes but your failures, not just your strengths but your weaknesses, not just your joys but your sorrows. Letting yourself be known is terrifying, because it means giving up control. You can't control how someone will respond to the real you. You can't manage their perception once they have access to your true self. You can't guarantee they'll accept what they see. You're putting yourself in their hands, trusting them with the most vulnerable parts of yourself, hoping they'll treat that trust with care. But letting yourself be known is also liberating. It means you can stop performing. You can stop pretending. You can stop exhausting yourself trying to be what you think others want you to be. You can rest in your authentic self. You can experience the profound relief of being accepted as you actually are, not as you pretend to be. And letting yourself be known is the only way to feel truly loved, truly connected, truly less alone. Because if you're never known, if you never let anyone see your true self, then you can never be sure that you're truly accepted. You'll always wonder if they would still love you if they knew the real you. But when you let yourself be known, when you show someone your whole self and they stay, when they see your imperfections and love you anyway, then you can trust that love. Then you can believe you're truly accepted. Then you can feel truly connected. This is why vulnerability, despite all its risks, despite all the fear it provokes, is not weakness. Vulnerability is profound strength. It's the courage to be seen. It's the bravery to risk rejection. It's the strength to feel your fear and show up anyway. It's the wisdom to know that connection requires honesty, that intimacy requires openness, that love requires letting yourself be known. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's the strongest, bravest, most courageous thing you can do. And every time you choose vulnerability, every time you let yourself be seen, every time you show up authentically despite your fear, you're exercising a strength that transforms not just your own life, but the lives of everyone who witnesses your courage and is inspired to be brave themselves. You don't have to understand every emotion. Sometimes you feel things that don't make sense, that can't be neatly explained or categorized. That's okay. Not every emotion needs analysis or resolution. Some feelings are simply weather passing through, clouds that drift across your inner sky without reason or warning. You can let them be, acknowledging their presence without demanding answers. Emotions don't always have lessons. Sometimes they're just part of being alive. Your nervous system needs safety to heal. This is not a metaphor. This is not positive thinking or self-help philosophy. This is biology, neuroscience, the fundamental way your body is designed to work. Your nervous system, that vast network of nerves and neurons that connects your brain to every cell in your body, operates on a simple principle: safety first. When it detects threat, real or perceived, it activates survival responses. When it detects safety, it allows healing responses. You cannot force healing. You cannot demand it. You cannot willpower your way into it. Healing happens only when your nervous system receives the signal that it is safe enough to let down its guard. Think about a wild animal that's been injured. A deer with a wounded leg doesn't immediately lie down to rest and heal. First, it must escape the danger. First, it must find shelter. First, it must scan the environment repeatedly to ensure no predators are near. Only when the deer feels genuinely safe, when its nervous system registers that survival is no longer in question, does it finally relax enough for the body's healing mechanisms to activate. The wound cannot properly heal while the animal is still in survival mode, while stress hormones are still flooding its system, while every muscle is still tensed for flight. You are not so different from that deer. Your nervous system operates on the same ancient principles. When you've experienced emotional pain, trauma, loss, or prolonged stress, your nervous system goes into a protective state. It becomes hypervigilant, constantly scanning for threats. It keeps your body in a state of activation, ready to respond to danger at any moment. And in this state of activation, true healing cannot occur. The wound remains open, the pain stays fresh, the trauma continues to echo through your system. Healing from emotional pain doesn't happen through willpower or positive thinking alone. We live in a culture that tells us to push through, to stay positive, to think our way out of suffering. Just change your mindset, people say. Just focus on gratitude. Just decide to be happy. And while thoughts and perspectives certainly matter, they are not enough. You cannot think your way into healing if your body is still locked in a state of threat. Imagine trying to have a rational conversation with someone while a fire alarm is blaring. You can say all the right words, think all the right thoughts, but the nervous system cannot process them properly because it's overwhelmed by the signal of danger. The alarm must be turned off first. Safety must be established first. Only then can meaningful communication, meaningful processing, meaningful healing occur. Your nervous system is that fire alarm. When it's activated by stress, trauma, or emotional pain, it doesn't matter how many positive affirmations you repeat or how much you try to convince yourself everything is fine. The alarm is still blaring. Your body is still receiving the message, danger, danger, danger. And until that alarm is silenced, until safety is genuinely felt, not just intellectually understood, healing remains out of reach. It happens when your nervous system feels safe enough to relax, not when you tell yourself you're safe, not when circumstances appear safe, not when logic says you should feel safe. When your nervous system actually feels safe, there's a crucial difference between knowing you're safe and feeling you're safe. You might know intellectually that you're in no immediate danger. You might understand rationally that the threat has passed. But if your body hasn't received that message, if your nervous system is still operating in survival mode, then healing cannot begin. Safety is felt through specific signals that your nervous system recognizes and responds to. These signals are often subtle, physical, environmental. The softness of a blanket, the warmth of a room, the rhythm of slow, deep breathing, the presence of a calm, attuned person, the absence of demands or expectations, the permission to simply be, without performing or producing or proving anything. When your nervous system receives enough of these safety signals, something shifts. The hypervigilance begins to ease. The muscles begin to release their chronic tension. The breath deepens naturally. The heart rate slows. The digestive system, which shuts down during stress, begins to function again. The immune system, which is suppressed during prolonged stress, reactivates. All the body's healing mechanisms, which were placed on hold during the perceived emergency, come back online. To relax. This word has been trivialized in our culture, reduced to bubble baths and vacation days. But true relaxation, the kind your nervous system needs for healing, is a profound physiological shift. It's the movement from sympathetic nervous system activation, the fight or flight state, to parasympathetic nervous system dominance, the rest and digest state. This shift is not optional for healing. It is essential. It is the doorway through which all healing must pass. When your nervous system relaxes, your body can finally begin the work it's been trying to do all along. Stress hormones that have been circulating for days or weeks or months can finally be metabolized and cleared. Muscles that have been chronically tense can finally release. Emotions that have been held in suspension can finally be processed and integrated. Memories that have been fragmented can finally be organized and stored properly. This relaxation cannot be forced. You cannot command your nervous system to relax any more than you can command yourself to fall asleep. The harder you try, the more activated you become. Relaxation happens through invitation, through creating conditions of safety, through removing threats and adding resources, through patience and gentleness and time. To process, your brain and body are constantly processing information, experiences, emotions. But this processing requires energy and resources that are not available when you're in survival mode. Think of your mental and emotional processing like digestion. When you eat a meal, your body needs time and energy to break down the food, extract nutrients, eliminate waste. If you eat while running from danger, digestion stops. The body redirects all resources to survival. The food sits undigested, causing discomfort. Emotional experiences are similar. They need to be digested, processed, integrated. But this processing can only happen when you're not in survival mode. Trauma, grief, heartbreak, disappointment. These experiences sit undigested in your system when your nervous system is activated. They create symptoms, discomfort, pain. Not because something is wrong with you, but because the natural processing has been interrupted by the need to survive. When safety is established and your nervous system relaxes, processing can finally occur. Often this happens during sleep, which is why sleep is so crucial for emotional healing. During certain stages of sleep, particularly REM sleep, the brain processes emotional experiences, integrating them into your larger narrative, filing them away as memories rather than active threats. This is why you sometimes wake up feeling lighter after a good night's sleep, even though nothing in your external circumstances has changed. The processing happened while you slept. But processing also happens during wakeful rest, during moments of calm, during activities that engage your body in rhythmic, soothing ways. Walking in nature, gentle movement, creating art, listening to music. These activities provide just enough engagement to keep you present while allowing your nervous system to relax enough for background processing to occur. To let go. This phrase is used so often it's become almost meaningless. Just let it go, people say, as if releasing pain and trauma were as simple as opening your hand. But letting go is not a decision you make with your conscious mind. It's a process that happens in your body when conditions are right. You cannot let go while you're still holding on for dear life. You cannot release while you're still in survival mode. Think about holding something heavy. If you're standing on unstable ground, you grip that object tightly, using all your strength to maintain control. You cannot let go, because letting go feels dangerous. But if you're standing on solid ground, if you feel stable and supported, letting go becomes natural, almost effortless. The object simply slides from your hands when you're ready. Emotional pain is what you're holding. Your nervous system's state of activation is like that unstable ground. As long as you feel unsafe, you will grip your pain tightly, unconsciously, because some part of you believes that holding on is necessary for survival. Maybe the pain is familiar and familiarity feels safer than the unknown. Maybe the pain connects you to something or someone you're not ready to lose. Maybe the pain has become part of your identity, and letting go feels like losing yourself. But when your nervous system feels safe, when the ground beneath you feels solid, letting go becomes possible. Not because you've decided to let go, but because your body no longer needs to hold on. The grip loosens naturally. The pain begins to release, not all at once, not dramatically, but gradually, gently, in its own time. This is why comfort matters. Comfort is not weakness. Comfort is not avoidance. Comfort is a safety signal to your nervous system. When you allow yourself comfort, when you wrap yourself in a soft blanket, when you drink something warm, when you sit in a comfortable chair, when you listen to soothing music, you are communicating to your nervous system. We are safe enough to relax. We are not in immediate danger. We can afford to let our guard down slightly. Every act of comfort is a message to your body. Every moment of ease is a signal that survival is not currently in question. And these signals accumulate. One moment of comfort might not be enough to shift your nervous system out of activation, but many moments, repeated consistently, begin to create a new baseline. Your nervous system begins to learn that safety is possible, that relaxation is permitted, that healing can occur. This is especially important if you've experienced trauma or prolonged stress. Your nervous system may have been in survival mode for so long that it no longer remembers what safety feels like. It has adapted to constant vigilance, constant activation, constant readiness for threat. Comfort helps retrain your nervous system, helps it remember that not every moment requires survival responses, that some moments can be soft and easy and restful. Why rest is not laziness. We live in a culture that glorifies productivity and demonizes rest. Rest is seen as something you have to earn, something you're only allowed after you've worked hard enough, produced enough, achieved enough. But this understanding of rest is backwards and harmful. Rest is not a reward for productivity. Rest is a biological necessity. Rest is when healing happens. Your body repairs itself during rest. Tissues regenerate. The immune system strengthens. The brain consolidates memories and clears metabolic waste. Hormones rebalance. Inflammation decreases. All of these healing processes require rest. They cannot happen, or happen much less efficiently, when you're active and productive. When you're healing from emotional pain, rest becomes even more critical. Emotional healing requires enormous amounts of energy. Processing trauma, integrating difficult experiences, rewiring neural pathways, all of this is metabolically expensive. Your brain and body need rest to have the resources available for this work. Calling rest laziness is like calling sleep laziness. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of biology. You are not being lazy when you rest. You are allowing your body to do the essential work of healing that it cannot do while you're busy being productive. You are honoring your biological needs rather than overriding them with cultural expectations. And when you're healing from emotional pain, you may need more rest than usual. You may need to sleep longer, nap more frequently, spend more time doing nothing. This is not a character flaw. This is not weakness. This is your body telling you what it needs. Listen to it. Trust it. Give it the rest it's asking for. Why gentleness is not indulgence. Gentleness with yourself when you're hurting is not self-indulgence. It's not coddling. It's not making excuses. Gentleness is a form of safety. When you're gentle with yourself, when you speak kindly to yourself, when you allow yourself to move slowly and make mistakes and not be perfect, you are creating psychological safety. And psychological safety is just as important as physical safety for nervous system regulation. Think about how you would treat a friend who's going through a difficult time. You would be patient with them. You would understand if they couldn't function at their usual level. You would forgive their mistakes. You would encourage them to rest. You would speak kindly to them. This gentleness doesn't make your friend weak. It supports their healing. You deserve the same gentleness. When you're harsh with yourself, when you criticize yourself for struggling, when you demand that you function normally despite pain, you are creating internal threat. Your nervous system registers self-criticism as danger. It activates stress responses. It prevents the relaxation necessary for healing. But when you're gentle with yourself, when you acknowledge that you're doing your best in difficult circumstances, when you give yourself permission to struggle and be imperfect, you create internal safety. Your nervous system can relax slightly. The constant state of self-directed threat diminishes. Healing becomes possible. Gentleness is not about lowering standards or giving up on growth. It's about recognizing that healing requires safety, and safety requires kindness. You cannot heal in an environment of constant criticism, even when that criticism comes from inside your own mind. Your body needs to know it is safe before it can release what it's been holding. This is perhaps the most important sentence in understanding trauma and healing. Your body is holding things. Tension in your shoulders, tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, shallow breathing. These physical holdings are not random. They are your body's way of containing emotional pain, of managing overwhelming experiences, of protecting you from feeling more than you can handle in any given moment. But these holdings cannot be released through willpower. You cannot simply decide to let go of the tension, the tightness, the knot. Your body is holding these things for a reason. It believes, on some level, that releasing them would be dangerous. Maybe releasing would mean feeling emotions that seem too big to handle. Maybe releasing would mean acknowledging truths you're not ready to face. Maybe releasing would mean losing control in some way that feels terrifying. Your body will only release what it's holding when it feels safe enough to do so. This is why forced relaxation techniques often don't work. This is why being told to just relax can actually increase tension. Your body knows what it's doing. It's protecting you. And it will continue protecting you until it receives convincing evidence that protection is no longer necessary, that it's safe to let go. Creating this safety is not quick or simple. It requires patience. It requires consistency. It requires proving to your body again and again, through actions, not just words, that safety is real. It requires removing threats when possible and adding resources and supports. It requires time in environments and with people who help your nervous system regulate. It requires practices that signal safety, slow breathing, gentle movement, warm baths, soft textures, calming sounds. Gradually, with enough safety signals, your body begins to trust. The holdings begin to release. Not all at once, not dramatically, but in small increments. A slight softening in your shoulders, a deeper breath, a loosening in your chest. These small releases are victories. They are evidence that healing is happening, that your nervous system is shifting, that safety is being established. Healing is not just mental. We often think of emotional healing as a mental process, something that happens through thinking differently, understanding more, gaining insight. And while these mental processes are part of healing, they are not the whole story. Healing is not just mental. It is deeply, fundamentally physical. Your emotions are not abstract concepts floating in your mind. They are physical experiences in your body. Fear is a racing heart and shallow breath. Sadness is heaviness in your chest and fatigue in your limbs. Anger is heat and tension and clenched muscles. Joy is lightness and energy and openness. Every emotion has a physical signature, a pattern of sensations in your body. When emotional pain is not processed, when trauma is not integrated, it doesn't just stay in your mind. It stays in your body. It becomes chronic muscle tension. It becomes digestive problems. It becomes headaches, back pain, fatigue. It becomes a nervous system stuck in activation. The body holds what the mind cannot yet process. Therefore, healing must address the body. You cannot heal emotional pain through mental work alone. You must also help your body release what it's holding. This is why somatic therapies that work directly with body sensations, are so effective for trauma. This is why movement, breathwork, massage, and other body-based practices can be so healing. They help the body complete the processes that were interrupted, release the tensions that were necessary for survival but are no longer needed. It is deeply physical. Healing happens in your cells. It happens in your nervous system. It happens in your muscles and organs and tissues. When you heal emotionally, you can measure physical changes. Stress hormone levels decrease. Heart rate variability improves. Inflammation markers go down. Sleep quality increases. Immune function strengthens. These are not side effects of emotional healing. They are emotional healing. They are what emotional healing looks like at the physical level. A return to a state of calm that allows repair. This is what healing ultimately is. A return to baseline. A return to the state your body is meant to inhabit most of the time. Calm, regulated, balanced. Not the artificial calm of suppression or avoidance, but the genuine calm of a nervous system that feels safe, that is not constantly scanning for threats, that can rest and digest and repair. In this state of calm, everything works better. Your brain can think more clearly. Your emotions can flow naturally rather than getting stuck. Your body can heal physical ailments more effectively. Your relationships can deepen because you're not constantly in defensive mode. Your creativity can emerge because you have resources available for more than just survival. This calm allows repair. Repair of neural pathways damaged by trauma. Repair of relationships strained by your survival responses. Repair of your sense of self that may have been fragmented by overwhelming experiences. Repair of your trust in the world, in others, in yourself. Repair of your capacity to feel joy, to rest, to be present, to connect. The repair happens slowly, incrementally, often invisibly. You may not notice it day to day, but over time, with consistent safety, with adequate rest, with genuine gentleness, the repair accumulates. You begin to notice you're sleeping better, you're less reactive, you're more present, you're feeling things more fully, you're able to be vulnerable again, you're trusting again, you're healing. And all of this repair, all of this healing, begins with one simple thing: safety. Your nervous system needs safety to heal. Everything else follows from that. Emotions are temporary, but you are not. Think about the last time you felt absolutely certain an emotion would never end. Maybe it was heartbreak that felt like it would consume you forever. Maybe it was anxiety so intense you couldn't imagine ever feeling calm again. Maybe it was anger that burned so hot you thought it had become part of who you are. And yet, if you're honest, that feeling isn't here anymore. Not with the same intensity. It passed. It changed. It transformed into something else. Or it simply faded away like morning fog when the sun rises. Every feeling, no matter how intense, will eventually pass. This isn't just a comforting thought. It's a fundamental truth about how emotions work. Scientists have discovered that the physiological experience of an emotion, the actual chemical cascade that creates the feeling in your body, lasts approximately 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's how long it takes for the stress hormones to flood your system, peak, and then begin to dissipate. Everything after those 90 seconds is you re-triggering the emotion with your thoughts, replaying the situation, adding stories and meanings that keep the feeling alive. But even when we feed emotions with our thoughts, even when we hold on to them tightly, even when we revisit them again and again, they still change. They still shift. They still eventually release their grip. Joy fades into contentment. Remember the last time something wonderful happened. Maybe you got news you'd been hoping for. Maybe someone you love came home after a long absence. Maybe you achieved something you'd worked toward for years. In that moment, joy probably felt electric, overwhelming, almost too much to contain. Your heart raced. Your smile was involuntary. Energy surged through your body. You might have laughed or cried or both at once. But that peak moment didn't last, did it? Not because the good thing stopped being good, but because emotions are designed to crest and subside. The intense joy gradually softened into something quieter. The electricity became warmth. The overwhelming surge became a gentle glow. This isn't the death of joy. It's joy maturing into contentment, transforming into something sustainable, something you can live with day after day without burning out. Contentment is joy that has learned to sit still. It's joy that doesn't need constant excitement to exist. It's the difference between fireworks and a steady candle flame. Both are light, both are beautiful, but one is a moment, and the other is a presence. When joy fades into contentment, you haven't lost anything. You've gained something you can keep. Anger cools into clarity. Think about a time when anger arrived hot and immediate. Maybe someone betrayed your trust. Maybe you witnessed an injustice. Maybe you felt disrespected or dismissed. In those first moments, anger probably felt like fire in your chest, like pressure building behind your eyes, like words you had to physically restrain yourself from shouting. Your body was preparing for confrontation, flooding you with adrenaline, tensing your muscles, sharpening your focus to a single point, the source of the threat. But anger, even justified anger, cannot maintain that intensity forever. The body cannot sustain that level of activation. Gradually, whether in minutes or hours or days, the heat begins to cool. The fire becomes embers. The pressure releases. And in that cooling, something remarkable often happens. Clarity emerges. When anger cools, you can suddenly see things you couldn't see in the heat of the moment. You can understand the situation from multiple angles. You can recognize your own role, your own triggers, your own patterns. You can distinguish between the anger that protects you and the anger that harms you. You can decide what action, if any, this situation actually requires. This clarity isn't weakness. It isn't the anger being invalidated or dismissed. It's the anger completing its job. Anger's purpose is to alert you that a boundary has been crossed, that something needs to change, that action might be required. Once it delivers that message, once it gets your attention, it can cool into the clarity needed to respond wisely rather than react blindly. Sadness softens into acceptance. Sadness might be the emotion we resist most fiercely, the one we try hardest to skip over, or push away, or fix immediately. It feels heavy. It feels like sinking. It feels like something is wrong with us for feeling it at all. And in those first hours or days of sadness, it can feel absolutely unbearable, like a weight on your chest that makes even breathing difficult, like a fog that dims all the colors of the world. But sadness, when we allow it to exist without fighting it, has its own arc. It doesn't stay sharp forever. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, the edges soften. The weight doesn't disappear, but it becomes something you can carry. The fog doesn't lift entirely, but you learn to navigate through it, and slowly, sadness begins its transformation into acceptance. Acceptance isn't resignation. It isn't giving up or pretending something doesn't hurt. Acceptance is the moment when you stop fighting reality, when you acknowledge that something has happened or something has changed or something is lost, and you begin to make space for that truth in your life. Acceptance is sadness that has done its work, sadness that has helped you process loss, sadness that has honored what mattered enough to grieve. When sadness softens into acceptance, you haven't betrayed your feelings, you haven't forgotten what hurt. You've simply reached the other side of grief, the place where you can hold both the loss and the continuing of life, both the sadness and the possibility of future joy, both the wound and the slow, patient healing. You are the constant presence beneath these shifting states. This is perhaps the most important thing to understand about emotions. You are not the joy or the anger or the sadness. You are the one experiencing them. You are the awareness that notices, I am feeling joyful right now, or I am feeling angry right now, or I am feeling sad right now. There is a you that exists separate from the feeling, observing it, experiencing it, but not defined by it. Think about dreams. When you dream, you experience all sorts of emotions. You might feel terror in a nightmare, joy in a pleasant dream, confusion in a strange scenario. But when you wake up, you recognize immediately that those emotions were temporary experiences, not permanent truths about who you are. The you that wakes up is the same you that existed before the dream, unchanged by the temporary emotional landscape of sleep. Waking life is similar. The emotions you experience during the day are like dreams you're having while awake. They feel completely real in the moment. They create entire worlds of sensation and meaning. But they are temporary experiences passing through your awareness, not permanent definitions of your identity. The awareness that remains even as emotions come and go is who you actually are. You were aware when you were joyful as a child. You were aware when you were sad as a teenager. You were aware when you were angry yesterday and calm today. The emotions changed completely, but the awareness, the you that experiences them, remained constant. That awareness is the most stable thing about you. It's the ground beneath the weather, the screen on which all the movies of your emotional life play out. You are not your feelings. This can be hard to accept, especially when an emotion feels so strong it seems to define everything about you. When you're depressed, it feels like you are depression, like sadness has become your identity. When you're anxious, it feels like you are anxiety, like worry is woven into your very being. When you're in love, it feels like you are that love, like the emotion and your identity have merged completely. But if you look closely, if you pay careful attention, you'll notice there's always a small space between you and the emotion. There's the feeling, and there's the you that's aware of the feeling. That space might be tiny. The feeling might be so loud and so consuming that the space seems almost non-existent. But it's there. It's always there. And in that space lives your freedom. Because if you are not your feelings, then your feelings cannot define you. They cannot limit you. They cannot determine your worth or your future or your possibilities. They are visitors, not residents. They are weather, not climate. They are experiences you're having, not truths about who you are. You are the space in which they arise. Imagine your awareness as a vast, open space, like a meadow or an empty room or the sky itself. Emotions are like visitors to that space. Joy arrives like a burst of sunlight. Anger arrives like a sudden storm. Sadness arrives like a gentle rain. They come, they fill the space with their presence, they have their time, and then they leave. But the space itself is unchanged. The meadow is still the meadow after the storm passes. The room is still the room after the guest leaves. The sky is still the sky after the weather changes. You are that space. Emotions cannot damage you because they are not substantial enough to damage space itself. They can fill you, they can move through you, they can occupy your attention completely, but they cannot destroy the fundamental spaciousness of your awareness. That spaciousness is indestructible. It was there before you learned language. It will be there when language fails. It's the most basic fact of your existence. You are aware, and that awareness is the container for everything you experience. The sky that holds every weather. This is perhaps the most beautiful metaphor for understanding your relationship with emotions. The sky doesn't resist storms. It doesn't push away clouds. It doesn't cling to sunshine. The sky simply holds everything, allows everything, provides space for all weather to exist and move and change. Rain doesn't damage the sky. Thunder doesn't frighten the sky. Even the darkest clouds cannot diminish the sky's vastness. You are like that sky. Emotional storms cannot harm the essential you. Dark moods cannot diminish your fundamental awareness. Even the most intense feelings are just weather patterns, moving through the vast space of your consciousness. The sky doesn't judge the weather as good or bad. It doesn't prefer sunshine over rain. It holds everything with equal spaciousness, equal acceptance, equal peace. When you understand yourself as the sky rather than the weather, everything changes. You stop identifying so completely with your emotions. You stop believing that a bad mood means you are bad, that anxiety means you are broken, that sadness means something is wrong with you. You recognize these as weather patterns, temporary and ever-changing, moving through the unchanging spaciousness of who you actually are, the quiet witness to your own unfolding life. There is a part of you that has been watching your entire life unfold. It watched you learn to walk. It watched you experience your first day of school. It watched your first heartbreak and your first triumph. It's watching right now as you read or hear these words. This witnessing awareness is the most intimate companion you'll ever have, and yet it's so quiet, so subtle, that we often forget it's there. This witness doesn't judge. It doesn't criticize or praise. It simply observes with perfect, compassionate attention. When you feel joy, it witnesses the joy. When you feel pain, it witnesses the pain. It doesn't try to change what it sees. It doesn't wish things were different. It simply holds space for your experience, whatever that experience might be. Learning to identify with this witness rather than with the emotions themselves is perhaps the most profound shift a human being can make. It doesn't mean you stop feeling emotions. You feel them fully, perhaps even more fully than before. But you feel them as the sky feels weather, with spaciousness and acceptance, knowing that no matter how intense the storm, the sky itself remains untouched, unchanged, eternally present. This is who you are beneath the emotions. This is what remains when joy fades and anger cools, and sadness softens. This witnessing awareness, this spacious presence, this quiet constant that has been with you every moment of your life. You are not temporary. Your emotions are temporary. But you, the awareness experiencing them, the space holding them, the witness observing them, you are the one permanent thing in your entire existence. And that permanence, that stability, that unshakable ground of awareness is always here, always available, always waiting for you to remember it, especially in moments when emotions threaten to convince you that they are all you are. And now, the emotions begin to settle, like leaves drifting down to rest. Picture autumn leaves falling from a tree. They don't fight gravity. They don't resist the ground. They simply drift, turning slowly in the air, catching the light as they descend, until finally they come to rest on the earth below. Some fall quickly. Others take their time, swirling and dancing before they settle. But all of them, eventually, find their place of rest. Your emotions are like those leaves. Throughout this journey tonight, you've heard about so many feelings. You've learned how they work, why they exist, what purpose they serve. And perhaps as you've listened, you've felt some of these emotions stirring within you. Maybe you recognized yourself in the descriptions of sadness, or joy, or fear. Maybe you remembered times when you felt exactly what was being described. Maybe emotions rose up as you listened, wanting to be acknowledged, wanting to be felt. That's okay. That's natural. That's exactly what emotions do. They rise when they're spoken about, when they're recognized, when they're given permission to exist. But now, as we come to the end of this journey, those emotions can begin to settle. Not because you're pushing them away, not because you're suppressing them or denying them, but because, like leaves that have finished their fall, they can simply come to rest. There's a natural rhythm to emotions. They rise, they peak, they settle, they arrive, they have their moment, they subside. You've given them space tonight. You've listened to their stories. You've understood their purposes. And now they can settle, gently, softly, like leaves drifting down to rest on the forest floor. We've wandered through 100 gentle truths. Think about where we've been together tonight. We started by understanding that emotions existed before language, that they are ancient messengers carrying wisdom from millions of years of human experience. We learned that crying is uniquely human, that tears contain natural painkillers, that weeping is not weakness, but healing. We discovered how your heart and brain communicate constantly, sending signals back and forth that shape how you feel every moment. We learned that emotions are contagious, that your nervous system syncs with the people around you, that you literally feel what others feel through mirror neurons and shared rhythms. We explored how happiness is not the absence of sadness, how the richest lives contain all emotions, how trying to feel only positive feelings actually makes us less happy. We learned that your body remembers emotions, even when your mind forgets, that trauma and stress leave physical imprints that need physical healing. We understood that laughter is a social bonding tool, that we laugh 30 times more with others than alone, that even fake laughter can trigger real emotional benefits. We learned that fear is your body trying to protect you, that the racing heart and shallow breath are not malfunctions, but ancient survival responses. We discovered that emotions last only 90 seconds, if you let them, that everything after that initial surge is you re-triggering the feeling with your thoughts and stories. We learned that gratitude rewires your brain, that regular practice of appreciation literally changes your neural pathways. We explored how sadness slows you down for a reason, how it creates space for healing and reflection, how it's not failure but wisdom. We learned that you can feel multiple emotions at once, that complexity is not confusion but the full spectrum of being human. We discovered how love changes your brain chemistry, flooding you with dopamine and oxytocin, activating the same regions as addiction. We learned that anger shows you what matters, that it's information about crossed boundaries and violated values. We understood that your emotions are not facts, that feeling unloved doesn't mean you are unloved, that feelings are real but not always accurate. We learned about nostalgia's bittersweet nature, how it connects you to your history while acknowledging that time moves forward. We discovered that empathy can be learned and strengthened, that it's not a fixed trait but a skill you can develop. We learned that loneliness is a signal, not a flaw, that it's your heart asking for meaningful connection. We explored how jealousy points to what you desire, how shame thrives in silence but cannot survive being spoken aloud with empathy. We learned that forgiveness is for you, not them, that it's releasing the grip of resentment on your own heart. We understood that emotions are energy in motion, that they're designed to flow through you, not get stuck in you. We learned that hope is a practice, not a feeling, that it's active belief in your own agency. We discovered that your younger self still lives inside you, that disproportionate emotions are often echoes of past pain. We learned that anxiety is not the enemy, that it's your nervous system trying to protect you from perceived threats. We explored how boredom is a doorway to creativity, how mental space allows unexpected connections. We learned that compassion starts with yourself, that you cannot pour from an empty cup. We understood that grief is love with nowhere to go, that it's not something to get over but something to carry and integrate. We learned that you're allowed to change your mind, that growth means letting your feelings and beliefs evolve. We discovered that contentment is quieter than happiness, that it's the gentle satisfaction of being enough. We learned that emotions connect you to others, that every feeling links you to the shared human experience. We explored how vulnerability is not weakness, how allowing yourself to be seen is actually profound strength. We learned that you don't have to understand every emotion, that some feelings are just weather passing through. We understood that your nervous system needs safety to heal, that healing happens in your body, not just your mind. We learned that emotions are temporary, but you are not, that you are the constant awareness beneath shifting feelings. From the tears that heal, we began with tears, with the understanding that crying is one of the most human things you can do. Emotional tears are chemically different from other tears. They contain stress hormones and toxins that your body is releasing. They contain natural painkillers that soothe emotional distress. When you cry, you are not breaking down. You are healing. You are letting your body do what it knows how to do, releasing what cannot be held, allowing the pressure to ease. Throughout human history, across every culture, people have cried. Tears are universal. They connect you to every human who has ever felt loss or joy or overwhelming feeling. When you cry, you are participating in something ancient and shared. You are allowing your body's wisdom to flow. The tears that heal are not signs of weakness. They are evidence of your humanity, your capacity to feel deeply, your willingness to let emotions move through you rather than staying trapped inside. To the laughter that connects. And we explored laughter, that mysterious sound that emerges when joy or relief or connection becomes too much to contain. Laughter is contagious because we are wired for connection. When you laugh with someone, your nervous systems synchronize, your breath patterns align, your heart rates coordinate. For those moments of shared laughter, you are literally in sync with another human being. Laughter releases endorphins, those natural chemicals that reduce pain and create pleasure. Laughter relaxes your muscles, reduces stress hormones, boosts your immune system, but more than the physical benefits, laughter connects. It says, without words, I am safe with you. We are together. Everything, for this moment, is okay. The laughter that connects is a gift we give each other, a way of building bonds, of creating shared experience, of reminding each other that we are not alone. From fear's protective wisdom, we learn to respect fear rather than shame it. Fear is not cowardice. Fear is your body's ancient protection system, activating. When you feel afraid, your heart races to pump blood to your muscles. Your breathing quickens to take in more oxygen. Your senses sharpen. Your body is preparing you to face danger or escape it. This is the fight or flight response, millions of years old, designed to keep you alive. Sometimes fear activates when there's no real danger, when the threat is psychological rather than physical, but your body doesn't know the difference. It responds the same way. Understanding this helps you work with fear rather than against it. Fear's protective wisdom is trying to keep you safe. When you acknowledge this, when you thank your body for trying to protect you, when you gently help your nervous system understand that you're not in immediate danger, fear can begin to ease. Not because you've defeated it, but because you've heard its message, to love's transforming power. And we explored love, that emotion that changes everything. When you fall in love, your brain floods with chemicals. Dopamine that creates euphoria, oxytocin that builds bonding, serotonin that brings contentment. Brain scans show that love activates the same regions as addiction, which explains why love can feel so consuming, so necessary, so impossible to imagine living without. But love also activates regions linked to empathy, caregiving, and long-term attachment. Over time, passionate love often evolves into companionate love, a quieter, deeper bond. This evolution is not love dying. It's love maturing, transforming from fireworks into a steady flame. Love's transforming power changes not just your brain chemistry, but your entire orientation to life. It makes you more generous, more patient, more willing to sacrifice. It connects you to something larger than yourself. It reminds you that you are not alone, that you are seen and known and valued. From the grief we carry, we acknowledged grief, that heavy companion that walks beside you after loss. Grief is love, with nowhere to go. When you lose someone or something you love, the love doesn't disappear. It remains. But now it has no outlet, no recipient. This is grief, love transformed into longing. Grief is not something to get over. It's something to carry, to integrate, to let reshape you. Over time, the sharp edges of grief soften. The weight becomes something you can bear. The acute pain becomes a tender ache. But the love remains, woven into who you are. The grief we carry is not a burden we should try to put down. It's evidence of connection, proof that we love deeply enough to feel the loss deeply. Carrying grief with grace is not weakness. It's honoring what mattered, acknowledging what shaped us, allowing ourselves to be changed by love and loss. To the joy we find in small, quiet moments. And we discovered that joy is not only found in peak experiences and major achievements. Joy lives in small moments. Sunlight on your face, a warm cup of tea, a kind word from a stranger, the sound of rain, the softness of a blanket. These tiny moments, when noticed and savored, accumulate into a life that feels good. Research shows that these small, consistent moments of contentment contribute more to overall well-being than occasional intense experiences. You don't need grand circumstances to feel joy. You only need to pay attention to the quiet goodness already present in your day. The joy we find in small, quiet moments is sustainable. It doesn't require perfect conditions or special occasions. It's available now, in this breath, in this moment of rest, in the simple fact of being alive and aware. You are a feeling being. This is fundamental. This is what you are before anything else. Before you are successful or unsuccessful, before you are loved or unloved, before you are accomplished or struggling, you are a being who feels. Feelings are not secondary to thinking. They are not less important than logic or reason. They are primary. They are how you experience life, how you connect with others, how you know what matters. Our culture often treats emotions as problems to be solved, obstacles to overcome, weaknesses to hide. We're taught to value thinking over feeling, to prioritize logic over intuition, to suppress emotions in favor of productivity. But this is backwards. You are not a thinking being who occasionally feels. You are a feeling being who also thinks. Your emotions are not interruptions to your rational life. They are the foundation of your experience, not just a thinking one. Yes, you think. Yes, you analyze and reason and problem solve. These capacities are valuable. But they are not all you are. They are not even most of what you are. Most of your brain's activity happens below conscious awareness. Most of your decisions are influenced by feelings before logic enters the picture. Most of your memories are stored with emotional tags that determine how you recall them. Your thinking arises from your feeling. Your emotions shape your thoughts more than your thoughts shape your emotions. When you're anxious, you think anxious thoughts. When you're joyful, you think joyful thoughts. The feeling comes first. Then the thinking mind creates stories to explain the feeling. Understanding this helps you relate to your thoughts differently. They are not objective truths. They are interpretations, colored by your emotional state. Not just a thinking one means honoring the full spectrum of your experience. It means recognizing that sometimes you need to feel before you can think clearly. It means allowing emotions to exist without immediately analyzing them or trying to change them. It means trusting your gut feelings, your intuitions, your body's wisdom, alongside your mind's logic. Your emotions are not obstacles to overcome or problems to solve. This is perhaps the most important shift in how you relate to your feelings. Emotions are not enemies. They are not barriers between you and happiness. They are not signs that something is wrong with you. Every emotion, even the uncomfortable ones, is part of being human. Every feeling serves a purpose, carries information, deserves acknowledgement. When you treat emotions as obstacles, you create an adversarial relationship with yourself. You're constantly fighting your own experience, trying to eliminate sadness, suppress anger, avoid fear. This fight is exhausting. It's also futile. You cannot eliminate emotions. You can only suppress them. And suppressed emotions don't disappear. They go underground, where they influence you in ways you don't recognize or control. When you treat emotions as problems to solve, you're constantly trying to fix yourself. You analyze why you feel a certain way. You search for techniques to change your feelings. You judge yourself for feeling what you feel. This problem-solving approach might work for external challenges, but it doesn't work for emotions. Emotions don't need to be solved. They need to be felt, not obstacles to overcome or problems to solve. They are experiences to have, messages to hear, energies to allow. When you stop fighting your emotions, when you stop trying to fix them, something remarkable happens. They begin to flow more naturally. They arise, they peak, they pass. They don't get stuck because you're not creating resistance. They don't overwhelm you because you're not adding the secondary suffering of judging yourself for feeling them. They are the language of your deepest self. Your emotions speak a language older than words. Before humans developed complex language, we communicated through feelings. A baby cannot speak, but it can express a full range of emotions. An emotion can cross cultural and linguistic barriers in ways that words cannot. When you see someone crying, you understand something about their experience, even if you don't speak their language. This emotional language is the language of your deepest self. It's how your body communicates with your conscious mind. It's how your unconscious needs and desires make themselves known. It's how your history speaks to your present. When you feel an emotion, your deepest self is trying to tell you something. Not in words, but in sensation, in impulse, in the physical experience of feeling. Learning to listen to this language means paying attention to your body. Where do you feel the emotion? What is the sensation like? What does it want you to do? Not what should you do according to social rules or rational analysis, but what does the feeling itself want? Sometimes anger wants you to set a boundary. Sometimes sadness wants you to slow down and grieve. Sometimes fear wants you to seek safety. Sometimes joy wants you to connect and celebrate. Messages from your body, your history, your heart. Every emotion carries information from multiple sources. Your body sends messages about your physical state: hunger, fatigue, pain, pleasure. These physical states influence your emotions. You're more irritable when you're hungry, more anxious when you're tired, more content when you're comfortable. Your history sends messages through your emotions. Past experiences, especially from childhood, create patterns and expectations that shape how you feel in the present. If you were shamed for expressing anger as a child, you might feel anxiety whenever anger arises now. If you were abandoned or neglected, you might feel disproportionate fear around connection and intimacy. Your emotional responses carry echoes of your history. Your heart sends messages about what matters to you, what you value, what you care about. When something threatens what you love, you feel fear or anger. When something aligns with your values, you feel satisfaction or joy. When you lose something precious, you feel grief. Your emotions are constantly orienting you toward what matters, helping you navigate a complex world by telling you what to approach and what to avoid, what to fight for and what to let go. The sadness you feel is not weakness. Sadness has been stigmatized in our culture. We're supposed to be happy, positive, optimistic. Sadness is seen as something to hide, something to apologize for, something to fix as quickly as possible. But sadness is not weakness. Sadness is a natural response to loss, disappointment, empathy for suffering. Sadness slows you down, creates space for reflection, helps you process what has happened. When you feel sad, you are not failing. You are responding appropriately to difficult circumstances. You are allowing yourself to feel the weight of loss, rather than pretending it doesn't exist. You are honoring what mattered enough to grieve. Sadness is not weakness. It's depth. It's the capacity to care deeply, to be affected by life, to let experiences touch you rather than bouncing off a hardened surface. The joy you experience is not frivolous. Just as sadness is stigmatized, joy is often dismissed as superficial or naive. Serious people are supposed to be somber, to focus on problems, to maintain appropriate concern about the world's troubles. But joy is not frivolous. Joy is not naive. Joy is your birthright, your natural state, when you feel safe and connected and present. Joy is also resistance. In a world full of suffering and injustice, choosing to feel and express joy is a radical act. It's refusing to let darkness have the final word. It's insisting that beauty and connection and delight still exist and still matter. Joy is not ignoring suffering. It's acknowledging that suffering is not all there is, that life contains multitudes, that you can hold both grief and gladness. The fear that visits you is not cowardice. Fear is often seen as the opposite of courage, as something brave people don't feel. But this is a misunderstanding. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling fear and acting anyway. Courage is acknowledging fear's message and then deciding what to do with that information. The fear that visits you is not cowardice. It's your body trying to protect you, your nervous system doing its job. Sometimes fear is appropriate. Sometimes the threat is real, and fear helps you respond effectively. Sometimes fear is disproportionate, activated by reminders of past danger rather than present threat. But even then, fear is not cowardice. It's a nervous system that learned to be vigilant, that's trying to keep you safe based on past experience. You can acknowledge fear without being controlled by it. You can thank your body for trying to protect you while gently helping it understand that you're okay now. Every emotion is a thread in the tapestry of your humanity. Imagine your life as a tapestry, a woven work of art. Each emotion is a thread, a color, a texture. The dark threads of grief and fear are not mistakes or flaws. They create depth, contrast, shadow. Without them, the tapestry would be flat, one-dimensional. The bright threads of joy and love shine more brilliantly because of the darker threads around them. The tapestry of your humanity includes all emotions. You cannot remove the threads you don't like without destroying the whole work. You cannot have only bright colors without losing the depth and richness that makes the tapestry meaningful. Every emotion belongs. Every feeling has its place. The anger threads show where boundaries were needed. The sadness threads show what mattered enough to grieve. The fear threads show what you protected. The joy threads show what you celebrated. The love threads show how you connected. And you are allowed to feel them all. This permission is crucial. You are allowed to feel sad even when others have it worse. You are allowed to feel angry even when you shouldn't. You are allowed to feel joyful even when the world is troubled. You are allowed to feel afraid even when the threat isn't immediate. You are allowed to feel whatever you feel, without justification, without explanation, without apology. This permission doesn't mean acting on every feeling. It doesn't mean expressing every emotion without consideration for others. It means allowing yourself to feel, internally, whatever arises. It means not adding the secondary suffering of judging yourself for your feelings. It means recognizing that emotions are not choices. They arise on their own. What you do with them is a choice, but the feelings themselves are not. Tonight, as you rest, your heart continues its steady rhythm. Right now, in this moment, your heart is beating. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to make it happen. It simply beats, steadily, reliably, approximately 60 to 100 times per minute, pumping blood through your body, delivering oxygen to your cells, removing waste products, keeping you alive. This steady rhythm is a kind of miracle. Your heart has been beating since before you were born. It will continue beating as you sleep tonight. It beats when you're happy and when you're sad. It beats when you're afraid and when you're calm. It adjusts its rhythm to meet your body's needs, speeding up when you need more oxygen, slowing down when you rest, and it does all of this without your conscious control. Your heart's steady rhythm is an anchor. When emotions feel overwhelming, you can return to this rhythm. You can place your hand on your chest and feel the beat. You can slow your breath to match your heartbeat. You can remember that beneath all the emotional weather, your heart continues its work, faithful and steady, keeping you alive moment by moment. Your breath rises and falls. Like your heartbeat, your breath is always with you. Right now, air is entering your lungs. Oxygen is being absorbed into your bloodstream. Carbon dioxide is being released. Your diaphragm contracts and relaxes. Your rib cage expands and contracts. Your breath rises and falls in a rhythm as old as life itself. Breath is the bridge between your conscious and unconscious, between your voluntary and involuntary systems. You can control your breath, choosing to breathe faster or slower, deeper or shallower. But you can also let it go, allowing your body to breathe automatically while your attention is elsewhere. This unique quality makes breath a powerful tool for working with emotions. When you're anxious, your breath becomes shallow and rapid. When you're calm, your breath becomes slow and deep. But the relationship works both ways. By deliberately slowing and deepening your breath, you can signal to your nervous system that you're safe, that you can relax. Your breath rising and falling is both a reflection of your emotional state and a way to influence that state. And somewhere within you, emotions ebb and flow like tides. Tides are governed by the moon's gravitational pull. They rise and fall in predictable patterns, twice a day, every day, with variations based on the moon's phase and position, high tide and low tide. The water advancing up the beach, then retreating, then advancing again. This rhythm is ancient, reliable, beyond human control. Your emotions follow similar patterns. They rise and fall. They advance and retreat. They have their own rhythms, their own cycles. Sometimes, you wake up feeling one way and go to bed feeling completely different, even though nothing external has changed. Sometimes emotions rise for no apparent reason, peak, and then subside. Sometimes they follow predictable patterns. Anxiety in the morning, calm in the evening. Sometimes they seem random, unpredictable, mysterious. Like tides, emotions are influenced by forces both visible and invisible. The moon's gravity is invisible, but its effects on the ocean are obvious. Similarly, your emotions are shaped by forces. You can see external events, interactions with others, and forces you cannot see: hormonal fluctuations, unconscious memories, nervous system states. Somewhere within you, emotions ebb and flow like tides, responding to influences both known and unknown, shaped by forces both ancient and immediate. The ancient forces shaping your emotions include your evolutionary heritage: fear, anger, joy, sadness. These emotions evolved over millions of years because they helped our ancestors survive and reproduce. The fear response that makes your heart race is the same response that helped early humans escape predators. The joy you feel in connection is the same joy that bonded early humans into cooperative groups. Your emotions are also shaped by your personal history. The experiences you had as a child created neural pathways that influence how you respond to situations now. If you were hurt by someone you trusted, That ancient wound might shape how you feel about trust today. If you were celebrated for your achievements, that ancient joy might shape how you feel about success today. Ancient forces, both evolutionary and personal, continuously influence your emotional landscape. But emotions are also shaped by immediate forces. What happened today, what you ate, how much you slept, who you interacted with, what news you heard, what thoughts you entertained. These immediate forces layer onto the ancient forces, creating the complex emotional experience of this particular moment. You are feeling what you're feeling right now because of forces both ancient and immediate, because of patterns millions of years old and events that happened hours ago, both known and mysterious. Some of the forces shaping your emotions are known. You know that lack of sleep makes you more irritable. You know that certain people calm you while others activate you. You know that certain situations trigger anxiety while others bring peace. You can identify some of the causes of your emotional states. But many forces remain mysterious. Sometimes you feel sad without knowing why. Sometimes anxiety arrives without apparent cause. Sometimes joy bubbles up unexpectedly. Sometimes emotions seem disproportionate to the situation, and you cannot figure out what's really driving them. This mystery is not a problem to solve. It's an acknowledgement that you are complex, that your inner world is vast, that you cannot always know or control everything you feel. The mystery is okay. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to have explanations for every feeling. You can allow some things to remain unknown, to be felt without being fully understood. Both known and mysterious, your emotions arise from sources you can trace and sources that remain hidden, and both are valid, both are real, both are part of your experience. You don't have to manage them perfectly. This is permission to be imperfect, to be human, to struggle sometimes with your emotional life. You don't have to be a master of emotional regulation. You don't have to always respond to your feelings in the healthiest way. You don't have to never get overwhelmed, never lose your temper, never feel too much or shut down completely. Managing emotions perfectly is impossible. It's not even desirable. The goal is not perfect control. The goal is not never feeling difficult emotions. The goal is developing a relationship with your emotions that allows you to feel them, learn from them, and respond to them with increasing wisdom and compassion. But this is a lifelong practice, not a destination you reach. You will have days when you manage your emotions skillfully, when you feel things fully but don't get swept away, when you respond rather than react. And you will have days when you don't, when you get overwhelmed, when you say things you regret, when you shut down or lash out. Both kinds of days are part of being human. You don't have to manage them perfectly. You only have to keep showing up, keep learning, keep being gentle with yourself. You don't have to understand them completely. Just as you don't have to manage emotions perfectly, you don't have to understand them completely. Some emotions will remain mysterious. Some feelings will never make complete sense. Some responses will seem disproportionate or confusing even after you've analyzed them thoroughly. This is okay. Understanding is helpful when it comes, but it's not required for healing. Sometimes you can heal without understanding. Sometimes you can feel better without knowing why you felt bad. Sometimes the emotion passes, and you never figure out what it was about. Sometimes understanding comes years later, long after the feeling has resolved. Sometimes understanding never comes, and that's okay too. You don't have to understand them completely. Means you can let go of the need to analyze every feeling, to find the root cause of every emotion, to have a complete explanation for your inner experience. You can simply feel what you feel, allow it to move through you, and trust that your body and mind are processing things in their own way, at their own pace, with their own wisdom that doesn't always translate into conscious understanding. You only have to let them be. This is the practice. Not managing perfectly, not understanding completely, just letting emotions be. Allowing them to exist without trying to change them, fix them, or make them go away. This sounds simple, but it's actually quite difficult. We're so conditioned to do something with our emotions, to act on them or suppress them, to analyze them or distract from them. Letting them be means feeling the sadness without immediately trying to cheer yourself up. It means noticing the anger without immediately expressing it or stuffing it down. It means experiencing the anxiety without immediately trying to make it stop. It means being with the joy without worrying about when it will end. This doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean never taking action. It means first allowing the emotion to exist, to be felt, to have its moment. Then, from that place of acceptance, you can decide if action is needed. But the action comes from wisdom rather than reactivity, from choice rather than compulsion, from acceptance rather than resistance. To honor their presence, every emotion that arises deserves acknowledgement. Not celebration necessarily, not agreement, but simple recognition. This feeling is here. This is what I'm experiencing right now. Honoring emotions' presence means not dismissing them, not minimizing them, not pretending they don't exist or don't matter. When sadness arrives, you can honor its presence by acknowledging, I am feeling sad right now. When anger arises, you can honor it. I am feeling angry right now. This simple acknowledgement is powerful. It creates a small space between you and the emotion. It reminds you that you are the one experiencing the feeling, not the feeling itself. It gives the emotion permission to exist without having to escalate to get your attention. Honoring emotions' presence also means thanking them for the information they bring. Thank you, fear, for trying to protect me. Thank you, sadness, for showing me what mattered. Thank you, anger, for alerting me to this boundary violation. This gratitude doesn't mean you enjoy the feeling. It means you recognize that even difficult emotions are trying to help you in some way. To trust that they are part of your body's wisdom. Your body is wiser than you know. It has intelligence that operates below conscious awareness, intelligence honed over millions of years of evolution. Your emotions are part of this intelligence. They are not random. They are not mistakes. They are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are your body's wisdom expressing itself. When you feel an emotion, your body is telling you something. Maybe it's telling you about a threat, real or perceived. Maybe it's telling you about a need that's not being met. Maybe it's telling you about a value that's being honored or violated. Maybe it's telling you to slow down, to pay attention, to change direction. Maybe it's telling you that you're safe, that you're connected, that you're on the right path. Trusting that emotions are part of your body's wisdom means listening to them rather than overriding them. It means considering what they might be trying to tell you rather than immediately dismissing them as irrational. It means recognizing that your body often knows things before your conscious mind catches up, and emotions are one way that knowledge makes itself known. If you happen to still be awake, you can go ahead and let your thoughts drift now. We're at the end of this journey. You've heard so much tonight about emotions, about how they work, why they exist, what they mean. You've learned about your nervous system, your heart, your breath, your body's wisdom. You've been given permission to feel everything, to be imperfect, to not understand everything. If you're still awake, that's okay. There's no pressure to sleep. There's no requirement to drift off at any particular moment. You can simply let your thoughts drift now. Let them become softer, less defined, less urgent. You can let the information you've heard tonight settle into your mind and body without trying to remember it all or understand it all or do anything with it. Letting your thoughts drift means releasing the grip of focused attention. It means allowing your mind to wander where it wants to wander, to make whatever connections it wants to make, to process in whatever way it needs to process. Your conscious mind can relax now. It's done its work for the day. It can hand things over to your unconscious mind, to your dreaming mind, to the parts of you that work while you rest. There's nothing more you need to do. This is complete permission to stop trying, stop working, stop managing, stop controlling. You've done enough. You've been enough. You've felt enough. There's nothing more required of you in this moment. You don't need to solve any problems. You don't need to understand any mysteries. You don't need to fix any emotions. You don't need to be anything other than exactly what you are right now. Nothing more you need to do means you can stop the constant doing that characterizes so much of life. You can simply be. You can exist without purpose or productivity. You can rest without earning it. You can let go without having accomplished everything. Nothing more you need to do. Just breathe. Just be. Just rest. Nothing more you need to understand. You've learned so much tonight, but you don't need to retain it all. You don't need to remember every fact or concept. You don't need to understand how everything fits together. The understanding that matters will stay with you. The insights that are meant for you will integrate naturally. The rest can drift away. Nothing more you need to understand means releasing the pressure to figure everything out. You don't need to understand why you feel what you feel. You don't need to understand how healing works or what your emotions mean or what you should do differently tomorrow. You can let all of that go. You can trust that understanding comes in its own time, that clarity emerges when it's ready, that you don't have to force or rush or demand it. You are enough, exactly as you are. This is the fundamental truth beneath everything else. You are enough. Not when you heal, not when you understand, not when you manage your emotions perfectly. Now, right now, exactly as you are in this moment, with whatever you're feeling, however you're struggling, whatever you understand or don't understand, you are enough. You are enough means you don't need to be different to be acceptable. You don't need to be calmer, happier, more together, less emotional. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be further along in your healing. You are enough exactly where you are. Your worth is not conditional on your emotional state, or your level of understanding, or your ability to manage difficulty. Exactly as you are means including everything. Your strengths and your struggles, your joy and your sorrow, your clarity and your confusion, your courage and your fear, all of it, every part of you, every emotion you feel, every thought you think, every way you respond, all of it is part of you. And you are enough with all of it. With all that you feel, this is the final permission. You are allowed to feel everything. You are enough, even with the sadness, the anger, the fear, the shame, the grief, the anxiety. You are enough even with the emotions you wish you didn't have. You are enough even when you're overwhelmed. You are enough even when you're numb. You are enough with all that you feel. With all that you feel means your emotions don't diminish your worth. They don't make you broken or weak or too much. They make you human. They make you real. They make you alive. And you are enough, completely enough, exactly as you are, with every single thing you feel. I hope you sleep well. This is a blessing, a wish, a gentle sending off into rest. After this journey through the landscape of emotions, after all these truths and permissions and understandings, the hope is simple, that you sleep well, that your body finds rest, that your nervous system relaxes, that your mind quiets, that sleep comes easily and stays peacefully. Sleep is when so much healing happens. It's when your brain processes the day's experiences, consolidates memories, clears metabolic waste. It's when your body repairs tissues, balances hormones, strengthens the immune system. It's when emotions are integrated, when difficult experiences are filed away as memories rather than active threats. Sleep is essential for healing, and the hope is that you find it tonight. And dream softly. Dreams are mysterious. They're your unconscious mind, processing, creating, exploring. Sometimes dreams are disturbing, bringing up fears or memories. But the wish is that your dreams tonight are soft, gentle, peaceful. That if you dream of safety and comfort and connection. That your sleeping mind is kind to you, offering rest rather than disturbance, peace rather than turmoil. Dream softly means, may your unconscious be gentle with you tonight. May it not bring up more than you can handle. May it offer healing images, comforting scenarios, or simply the blank peace of deep sleep. May you wake feeling rested, restored, ready to meet another day with whatever it brings. Good night. These are the final words, the closing blessing. Good night. Sleep well, rest deeply, feel safely, be gently. You've traveled through so much tonight. You've learned about your emotions, your body, your healing. You've been given permission to feel everything. to be imperfect, to rest. Now it's time to let it all go, to surrender to sleep, to trust that you are held, that you are safe, that you are enough. Good night. May you sleep well and dream softly. May you wake feeling more at peace with your emotions, more compassionate with yourself, more trusting of your body's wisdom. May you carry with you the knowledge that every feeling serves a purpose, that you are the constant presence beneath shifting emotions, that you are enough exactly as you are. Good night.